Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews, where today we have the pleasure of checking out a track from an act named Ninefingers titled Even Baddies Get the Saddies. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves the art on the screen. This track, as of the time of me reviewing it, has not been released. Apparently it is on their Patreon, so if you want to support them, feel free to go check out through that. There are links in the description for this video. I should also note that apparently the song was written by Ninefingers with a whole lot of, quote, a whole lot of production additional instrumentation by Kyle Appleton, as well as backing vocals from various Sacramento songwriters, which is cool. So it's like a team effort, and we're going to listen through this track from start to finish, and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. What do we got?
Well, all my bestest friends are baddies, and they move through life just kicking ass. But life is long and filled with contrasts, and nearly never enough naps.
There's so much sizzle to the vocals. They sound so fresh with the guitar on one side and the keys on the other.
So sometimes they get bit by sudden sadness, a cloudy day filled with malaise. And though they're strong, they need some kindness, 'cause even baddies have bad days. Even baddies get the saddies.
Baddies Get the Saddies.
Even Bob Ross got the blues. Even Beyonce has her off days, and she's the baddest in the world. So if you're ever feeling low down, just call my name and I'll be there to lend my ear and lift you up too. 'Cause even baddies get the blues.
It's very personable. They mention like Bob Ross and Beyonce and stuff like that. It kind of helps you relate to it with a bit of pop culture there, but also it's just very personable. You get a sense of earnestness, not just from the acoustic guitars, but also the kind of honky tonk guitar on the left. It's not trying to be too intense or sort of like morose with it. Interesting movement with the
Even baddies get the saddies. Even Bob Ross got the blues. That's true. Even Beyonce has her off days, and she's the baddest in the world.
And when it doesn't rhyme with the will part, it kind of gets you to pay attention to that because it snaps you out of that rhythmic phrasing there, or the way, you know,
if you're ever feeling low down,
the rhyming phrasing.
just call my name and I'll be there to lend my ear and lift you up too. 'Cause even baddies get the blues.
Oh, this song needs a key change.
Even baddies get the saddies. Even Bob Ross got the blues.
That's true.
Even Beyonce has her off days, and she's
Saxophone?
the baddest in the world. So if you're ever feeling low down, just call my name and I'll be there to lend my ear and lift you up too. 'Cause even baddies get the blues. 'Cause even baddies get the blues. 'Cause even baddies get the blues.
That's wonderful. That's adorable. When I say adorable, I mean, it's just so earnest and so full of good faith. It really wants to encourage you to be able to be open about the subjects we're discussing in the song. I'm going to talk about this track more in the conclusion, but I'm going to say it's a pretty positive outlook to it from here on out. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Ninefingers titled Even Baddies Get the Saddies. Now, just the title alone, you instantly kind of get the feeling there that even though we might be talking about some sort of like mental health stuff, even though we might sort of be struggling with that, we're still also trying to communicate that it's okay to get help, that it's normal. You know, even people like Bob Ross and Beyonce, again, they have their off days and stuff like that. And Ninefingers communicates later on that it's okay to ask for help and to be able to get sort of like assistance when you're going through those trials and tribulations, and that you don't have to do it alone. I think the good-naturedness there, the humor within it, it makes quite a serious topic more approachable for people. And I have to say that I'm very happy to have listened to this, and I'm proud of what they're trying to accomplish here. I think the actual purpose of the track is really wonderful. I'm sure there'll be people who can relate to it. It's a bit more of a playful way of discussing it, which I think will be more appealing to people who are maybe not a fan of the kind of the fuzzies, you know, like the kind of fluffy stuff, but it's like trying to make it more personable, I suppose. So well done. The vocals from Ninefingers were fantastic. There was a great tone to their voice. They had like a sizzle. It kind of sounded like a broadcast voice there. They were singing and they told a story that they seemed to believe in. The note choices and the melodies and various choruses were good. When, you know, structurally it was sound. The way we expressed ourselves was more of a kind of like old-timey kind of sing-songy kind of thing. It kind of reminds me of some, like, it reminded me of Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer with the way the verses go. And then everyone comes in near the end, like the whole family talks about Grandma getting run over by a reindeer. It's just very wholesome. There's a lot of warmth to it in that mid to high range there. A lot of the other instruments are kind of staying in that lower range, like even the saxophone we might have had later on there. But we're allowing so much room for those vocals to breathe there. And it's just, you know, it's not over-processed. We didn't try to be too sort of superfluous with our vocal technique or anything like that here. It was more trying to tell a story in a way that was intriguing, you know, like approachable, and we nailed it. We could have been a bit more sort of dire and down in the dumps about this, which would have been completely understandable. Again, it's serious stuff, but they did it in a way which was going to be a little bit less kind of intense for people, and I have to show some love for that. It was a smart move. The track itself at 3.5 minutes is really well paced out. You know, we have enough time for the instruments to show their belts, like alongside the vocal parts of the verses and the chorus. You know, we even had like a key change near the end there. We didn't allow things to become too sort of like suffocated, or like things were allowed their time in the sun. And I think that the transitions were seamless there. The main motif was palatable and really, it was a great song to listen to. It had just a fantastic, I don't know, like a vibe to it, I suppose. More of a country track. You know, you had this aesthetic with like the slide guitars and like some of the acoustic strum bits there, and the honky tonk piano with a bit of blues. Like, you've got the blues. Honky tonk piano with the blues. It's just like the instruments or the genre references are very appropriate for that. You know, you kind of get that inferred even without thinking about it too much. You kind of think about that old-timey music there. But again, it's not too much. It's kind of nice and bright, so it's not being too sort of morbid with it. You have bass and then drums come on with like some banjos or like some plucked stuff on the sides there. You have some other instruments again, like the saxophone, that lower range there, try not to sort of infringe on the mids to highs too much. It kind of allows, again, it's respectful of the story that's trying to be told, whilst also being compelling within its own right, with each function serving a purpose that makes complete sense. And like the song starts so quietly, again, just to emphasize with the guitar and the vocals, and you just have that immediate focus on the storytelling there. It's just very sort of like subtle, and things just build over the course of the track. So compositionally, there's a really satisfying level of development there, as well as the instrumental layers. But if I talk about a few of the instruments and why I appreciated them, there was a wonderful, almost sort of country-ish dum bum 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 kind of riff going on with the guitars, as well as some strum parts on the right side, not on both, because we were allowing room for the honky tonk later on there. But the guitar, when it came in full, was nice and thick and full. It shimmered and it shone, and it was very kind of like, it was very friendly sounding, but without being too in your face about it, almost like you're trying to approach someone who's going through some stuff. You wouldn't want to sort of like overwhelm them, right? I think that was the attempt as well, potentially, to not overwhelm the listener with these things that we're discussing with the instrumentation as well. The chord choices moving with like the blues or the country scale, sticking within a major key for a lot of it, stayed away from any sort of like particularly minor inferences there for the most part. We had more of a major tinge there, as if things were going to be better if we asked for help. And ultimately, just the performance was very satisfying. The plucked parts we had later on the sides of the stereo field as well were great there. They fleshed things out in that mid-range there and really sounded like the music was surrounding you in the headphones. It was not being too abrupt or abrasive. The keys that we had, the honky-tonk there with the use of the dominant 7th chords as well as the major and minor triads, they're moving with a bluesy pattern with some pentatonics as well, was kind of slick as well and filled in the stereo field really well. When it came in, you could easily differentiate the different sections within the track, and it was great to follow along to. It was fun. The bass that we had later on, I think, rolled around with the notes that the guitar was playing in that lower register, whether they were doing chromatics or sticking within chord shapes, and it was sticking full, again, sticking to that lower mid to not sort of overtake the vocals on the high. Not that a bass typically does that, but like they could have explored the fretboard and they didn't. They pocketed, and I think that was smart. And the drums as well. The drums were great. They were subtle as well. Like they were more kind of being there for the band. And I think that they pocketed. There was maybe like a little bit of occasional fill stuff, but it was very minimalist. I think that again, they were trying to focus on the story within this. So if the drummer had done any sort of like crazy sort of like tom fills or anything like that, or any sort of wild cymbal patterns, it would have been a bit distracting. I should also note before I continue that part of the charm was that for like last bit with like the key change was having those extra vocalists come in. And when I talked about the stuff on the sides, like the plucked parts there, the vocals came on top of that as well, and it just was like very nice and full sounding, and that was wonderful in regards to the layering of the instruments as well as the vocals and the arrangement. But I should also mention the saxophone that we had there, or the brass in the later stages there, was just a nice extra lead to go alongside any additional vocal parts we had to further sort of develop it, add sort of fill in any sort of niches we had to create a wonderfully sort of big sounding track there with a lot of warmth and glow in it. And for it to just finish on that last part with the vocals by themselves was with a bit of sort of like almost a fermata, some of those chord patterns or something like that, was very kind of like, it had a lot of weight to it. And it was nice to resolve on that with a natural bell curve to kind of come back down there. With the theme itself, overall with the major focus on the key sig there, the country and bluesy intonations of like the guitars and the keys, as well as like I suppose there's like a banjo on sides or something like that there. With the bomb, 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 bomb. You know, like it's very distinctive. It's a distinctive kind of like almost like the train percussion that we have there, without being too much like that, focusing on chord note accents for the drums. It was trying to be a country track, but in a way where it was. Yeah, I want to be extremely careful here. I think that it's like it had some 808s, did it? Did it have some like bass synths as well, like in some of the early stages, or was it just a really round bass guitar? I mean, but either way, it was thick and full, all around vibrant. There were various different chord progressions for different bits, and I think the attempt here was to tell a story about, you know, it's okay if you're struggling, you can get help, everything's going to work out, we can do this, even if you have their off days. The music tried to communicate with that, the harmonies and the note choices and the spirit, like the kind of the kind of swing through to the percussion. And yeah, there were no harsh resonances or textures in there. It was very welcoming, and it invited you to have a good time. And again, that key change there with like the call and response with like the person saying it's time for a key change, it's really cool, you know, well thought out. The studio recording, mixing and mastering though, again, just with that part where they talk about the key change there, there's filtering on the vocals. They're aware of how the vocals meant to sound. The main sound thick and full and are nicely compressed and have a great sheen to them, but it's also the backing vocals there where they sound like in the room with them, with the kind of parts about like the vocal key change, part time for a key change, being sort of radio filtered, and as well as the comment about Bob Ross having down days, you know, that being right. The guitars and keys on different sides of the stereo field was smart. Things came in one set at a time. You're wondering why it felt uneven, and then boom, everything's okay, it works out. And then yeah, just grew from there. Without being compressed, there was enough dynamic range sufficient to make it like it wasn't being suffocated or strangled there. Things were nice and wide, and the stereo field there, you know, with the banjos on the side and stuff like that. The music surrounded you in the headphones. There were no weird resonances in the frequency spectrum there. Things were nicely sort of leveled in there without anything poking its nose out, and there were niches found, especially with the brass at the end. It was very impressive to still find space in that composition at that point. It was nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled. And effectively, this is just a really positive review of this track from an act named Ninefingers, titled Even Baddies Get the Saddies. And hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show us some love via the various social medias. And I'm assuming this will be on our digital stream platforms at some point. And stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.